On Sunday, spokespersons of Nigeria's former Vice President, Atiku Abubakar, held a press conference in Abuja to address allegations of forgery levied against Atiku by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's spokespersons, some of who claimed that affidavits backing Atiku's change of name in 1973 from Sadiq Abubakar to Atiku Abubakar were forged because they were signed on a Saturday. Well, during the press conference, Frank Shaibu, Atiku's special assistant on communications, brought forth evidence of affidavits signed on a Saturday in the same year in 1973 and challenged President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to respond in the same way to allegations of forgery and other allegations levied against him. Shaibu also asked the president to confide in Atiku instead of hiring a horde of media aides to confuse the issue.
As a practitioner of democracy, especially someone who sits on the chair of a president, you must live above board. A president must mirror the moral rectitude of trust and transparency. To be called the president of a country is to be an approximation of the values that such a country stands for. Nigeria does not stand for forgeries and impersonation. It is therefore on this note that we yet again call on President Bola A. Tinubu to follow the example of Atiku Abubakar, to clear the air about the doubts and kurukere about his past, just as we have done, openly, publicly. And we took the pains to go to Lagos, his own Lagos, where he ruled and superintended and has been lord over for over 23 years. Since Lagos is his domain, we asked Bola A. Tinubu to boldly walk into Government College Lagos and make available to the world, just as we have done today, a copy of the 1970 certificate with which he sought admission into the Chicago State University. He may as well tell us the business center inside Oluwole Market in Lagos, where the document, the certificate was printed and given to Chicago State University, or where that certificate was gotten from, which was presented to the Independent National Electoral Commission. And if assuming the president is afraid to come out clean, because we can only assume at this point that Bola A. Tinubu has some skeleton in his closet or his cupboard, he should feel free to confide in us. You don't need to have over 2,000 media aides for you to do your job well. We are just 3 of us here, yet we went to Lagos, Tinubu's Lagos, to investigate and put to rest the issue of Atiku's affidavit, which was signed on a Saturday. We took it upon ourselves to say, look, we must come out clean. We cannot be on the same page with a certificate forger.
Of course, you know, this press conference generated a lot of reactions. I'll just take only one, Ayo, before I come to you. This person is Oluchi. She wrote, Atiku's media team went for the jugular today in the press conference. It was a knockout punch on the APC. Too much pepper demo. I mean, for me, I think, you know, Frank Shaibu really went for the jugular there. I mean, he hit all the right notes, and I think it was important that he said that, you know, instead of going forward to block access to people knowing who you really are, just come out and talk about your identity, go to Lagos. Like he said, only 3 of them went to Lagos to find out, you know, and to present these documents, if we can pull up those documents, those affidavits, to show that Atiku Abubakar is the same person as Sadiq Abubakar, because if you recall, Atiku Abubakar had written WAEC in the name of Sadiq Abubakar, and then they said because the affidavit was signed on a Saturday, it was forged, but they have, you know, brought out these documents to show that those documents were also signed on Saturdays back in 1973. Ayo, your take?
Wow, okay. So first of all, I must say that the kurukere was just so hilarious. But as that tweet had mentioned, absolutely true in terms of the fact that Frank Shaibu, when I was saying it, that he has earned his pay when he was speaking, that he gave a detailed response to what the APC had accused the Atiku Abubakar camp. But beyond the I won't call it mudslinging, but the back and forth between the parties. The matter is now in court. It's going to be heard today in court from at the Supreme Court. So it's going to be decided in court who is lying, whose certificate is false, whose certificate was forged or not, if the evidence will be admitted in court. But one of the things I want to say is this. as a nation, as a people, we have to begin to evaluate where we are in terms of our morality and the kind of nation that we're building. Because what happens often is that someone accuses or makes an allegation that you fraud a certificate, and your response, rather than going to present evidence that you didn't do it, to put paid to the to the insults and to this grave allegation, you then begin to say, you too, you forged certificate. So it's now a battle of whose sin is bigger, as opposed to saying that actually I didn't do what she was accusing me of doing. And that is what we have seen a number of times.
Yes.
And perhaps it's time to begin to elevate our consciousness as the kind of leaders that we have, whereby response to an allegation is not a counter allegation, or saying I'm justified in quotes, or implicitly making that statement I'm justified because you too, your hands are not clean either. The question on ground that was asked, as was presented by Mr. Frank Shaibu, has not yet been addressed. Rather than spending so much energy and time focusing on the fact that, well, you are not clean as well, just tell us, give us the documents, give us the evidence. That's all Nigerians and the Atiku camp are asking for. Yeah. So for me, the lesson out of this is more about the fact that when we talk about, oh, this person has done bad, okay, well, there's a suspicion of this, like saying, oh, OJ, you stole 10 naira, like, okay, you stole, or OJ, did you steal 10 naira? Or this outfit you're wearing, you stole it from whatever store you bought it.
Mine, no.
And you're like, oh,
I'll give you the receipt, I'll show you the time, date.
Exactly. And so my first response, before saying that, oh, you too, your yellow dress is also stolen, is to say that this is my receipt. Yeah. It is mine. That's all what we're asking for. Don't take people for granted. Don't abuse the intellect of Nigerians by saying that, oh, so let's stop this counter. Anyways, they're in court now, which is the proper place to finally get justice. But beyond the court is, these things are easy. Right. We would have avoided all these processes. Absolutely. Show us evidence. That's all.
Rufai, really quickly, Frank Shaibu has asked Tinubu to, maybe seek advice from Atiku instead of hiring over 2,000 aides.
You see, one thing is clear and simple. May God remind us where the race started to beat us from. We have lost our bearing as a country. Nigeria has now become a country that is a circus, so much joke. The president of a country, his educational background is suspect. We are going to court to determine that. So what else do we even want to know again? And other people that bring up the matter, the bandwagon is quick to also now say, oh, you too, you have a skeleton in your cupboard. I don't support anybody. Anybody that has skeleton, they should be able to bring it out. But once the Atiku team has come out to the fore, the president too should be able to come out.
It would be nice to see, if you recall, Peter Obi had that same press conference stating the same thing. Just come out and
what is going on. But you see, we live in a world where some people are paid to gaslight Nigerians and to distract them. So please do not be distracted. And somebody gave an analogy. When you see people trying to turn the issue around and gaslight, just like how some people said public opinion does not count. Somebody gave an analogy, says, see, when another bird called, I think, a crow, comes on the back of the eagle to attack the eagle, you know what the eagle does? The eagle doesn't fight back. The eagle continues to fly at a higher altitude. So when it gets to that altitude, the owl doesn't have the capacity to get in oxygen to relate with the eagle at that point, so it dies off. Yeah. So once people start this gaslighting conversation, insist on the most important conversation, because the president is the president now. Right. So he needs to be able to tell us the truth. And don't waste your time replying to these gaslighting conversations. Right. Once it's been clarified, yes, like I said before, Atiku Abubakar and other candidates have a right to be able to respond to the man. Once they clarified, stop responding to people that try to gaslight, because distractors are trying to detract you away from the issue. Yeah. It doesn't stop the issue that it is sad for Nigeria that we have to go to court to even determine the certificate our president presented.
All right.
Shaibu.